Hello there and welcome back. This is going to be pharmacy and healthcare. It looks like this is part two of two. So if you haven't seen part one, make sure you go check that out. Without further ado, let's get into part two, pharmacy and healthcare. All right, so the last time we left off, we went through kind of a timeline of healthcare and medicine. So let's review these um, these figures and their contribution to medicine. So Hippocrates, what was his contribution? So try not to memorize the entire thing, just pull out some key terms and hopefully that will help you. So if you said close observation, you would be correct. Paracelsus. So Paracelsus, he rejected Galen. So it wasn't the four humors. And what he proposed was that we use alchemy, right? The information from the alchemy. So if you said use chemistry to make medicine, you'd be correct. Galen, I kind of gave that away. He believed in the four liquids, aka the four humors. Louis Pasteur, to remember that, I think of pasteurization. To heat up milk and cool it down quickly to kill any microbes. And then lastly, Fleming, a little dirty in his lab technique. He got contamination, but that contamination led to a very important discovery, and that was penicillin. Forgot to circle that. 20th century. So the increase in life expectancy. So according to this chart, about the turn of the century, last century, you're living at about 50 years old. And now, current time, average life expectancy, much higher, 20, 30 years life expectancy advancement. And that's because, well, more hospitals in the air, better treatment, technology, definitely, use of drugs, vaccines, and antibiotics. What's skewing this numbers a little bit is infant mortality and child death. So a lot more children were dying. So it kind of throw off the number a little bit. Since drugs have profound effects for good and also harmful effects, we'll need some regulation. So the FDA was established in 1938. So you must prove as a drug seller or pharmaceutical company that your drug is safe and effective before you can sell it. And you prove safety and effectiveness through clinical trials. So that is with human testing. And that's where the bulk of the time of your research and development will be. The overall process, however, can take up to 10 to 15 years. And the new estimates in 2018, it's almost closer to $1.5–2 billion now. So if you took that time, took all that money, and you did not get approved, then that's a big gamble. You just lost. So that may explain why drug prices are a little higher in the United States. After the drug is approved, we'll continue to monitor for any adverse reactions to the drug. Since during clinical trials, only a small population group were tested, now that it's in the entire population, different genetic groupings, new adverse events might occur. Make sure you report those via the FDA MedWatch. That way, everyone else patents. So with most patents, you'll have a 17-year patent life. And after that, of course, people can copy your invention. So generic versions at a much lower cost will be available. This clock, the 17-year clock, starts ticking at the initial new drug application filing. This is when you announce to the world that this is your chemical. And then from this point on, next 17 years, you'll have the rights to that compound, that drug, that invention. Genetics. Well, you always heard that it's in their genes, right? Some people have high metabolism. Some people have big bones, etc. And yeah, but as mentioned, DNA is just the hardware. It's the software that we're still trying to figure out what turns on genes, what turns off genes, and at what time. So let me give you an example of some genetic variability. So lactose is a sugar. Anything that ends in OSE is a sugar. And normally you have the DNA to code for the enzyme lactase. So anything that ends in ASE is most likely the enzyme. So this is the enzyme that helps us convert lactose into a usable sugar. So you still have that DNA coded, it's just it's not expressed. So you're not allergic to lactose. You just have a lactose intolerance. Your body or you're unable to make the enzyme to break down the sugar. Pharmacy today, about 50, 60,000 community pharmacies nationwide. It used to be on every corner. You'll have gas stations, right, competing. But nowadays, you'll have competing pharmacies on each corner. And today, it's really only two companies, CVS and Walgreens. They started their buyout of all the independents. Pharmacies in the last 30, 40 years. Pharmacy profession, top 5. Rank the top 5 most trusted year after year. So it's going to be your goal as pharmacy technicians to keep that trust and maintain that trust of the patient. Some pharmacy settings. So community pharmacy, another way of saying retail. So these are the ones you find in the shopping centers. Also your outpatient pharmacy in the hospital as well. So these two are probably familiar to you guys. Mail order pharmacy in Carlsbad, just north of us here in San Diego, we have OptumRx. They can fill upwards of 10,000 prescriptions per hour at that mail order pharmacy. Long-term care pharmacies, so nursing homes, psychiatric wards, orphanages, things where patients will stay for a long time and not really have their meds changed quite often. We'll usually supply them a 30-day supply in these long-term care facilities. Managed care, you're dealing with more the insurance side. Home care is a very big cost savings for an insurance company. Instead of occupying a hospital bed or a nursing home, a lot of insurance company will actually set up care in the patient's home where the family members or nursing staffs will administer medication. Compounding. So compounding is making custom medications, and a compound will need one pharmaceutical ingredient. PBM. PBM are the third-party administrators for the electronic billing of claims. So retail pharmacies, they really don't have their own adjudication department. They outsource that to the PBM. IV infusion. New regulations within the last 15 years or so has increased the requirements to make IVs. So for example, you got to mix everything inside a laminar flow hood to maintain sterility of the IV products. Economic trends. So here in the 70s, I think it was Nixon who opened the door for health management organization. So here I believe it was Kaiser Permanente legislation that allowed them to start their HMO. So you can see down here about 100 billion. And now today, that's about a 30-fold increase. $2,700 billion. But the good thing is pharmacy costs kind of stayed the same year after year, about 10% of overall expenditure, medical expenditure, healthcare. Review question. Which of the following contributed to an increase of over 20 years in life expectancy? Drugs, vaccine, antibiotics increase hospitals. How many of you say A? How about B? C? Antibiotics? D? The answer is E, all the above. When does the patent life for a new drug begin to expire? So here is when. We all know that it's 17 years, but when does the clock start ticking? If you mention IND application, you'd be correct. So investigational new drug application. So that is the announcement, letting everyone know that this compound is yours. Matching. Let's match the pharmacy setting with its description, the hospitals. Which of the following would describe the hospital? In the hospital, the patients are admitted. So, inpatient. Community. If you like people, this is the place for you. And if you said the most patient interaction, you would be correct. IV infusion. Drugs going directly into your veins will require to be sterile. Compounding, as mentioned, those are going to be custom, on-demand items. And your pharmacy benefit manager, they don't sell anything, they just provide a service, in this case, administrative service. They are your third-party administrator. Computers in pharmacy, of course, anywhere you work nowadays, you're going to run into some kind of technology. So what do we use them for in pharmacy? Of course, entering patient info, drug information, prescriber information. What else? Patient, taking inpatient, processing prescriptions. Looks like ordering, security. So of course HIPAA, HIPAA, very important. Health insurance portability and accountability requirements on your computer system. Your register or your point of sales, and of course, in order to get reimbursed for the drugs you dispense, insurance information. Well, that concludes pharmacy and healthcare part 2. Join us next time. I believe the next chapter will be the pharmacy technician. So stay tuned. And again, thank you for joining me. And if I don't see you again here, then hopefully I see you in class. Thank you and have a good one.